Iraq, a country devastated by years of war. In 2006, a U.S. Special Forces unit stormed the Sadr City Mosque, the stronghold of a Shiite militia.
And in this engagement, they managed to kill 16 of their guys, captured a whole bunch of them, and left the scene. And they thought, well, they had done a great job, until they got back to their base.
As soon as the U.S. soldiers left, the Islamists sprang into action.
Those guys had come in, took the dead bodies of their fallen comrades, arranged them on prayer mats, and made it look like the Americans murdered these guys in the middle of prayer unarmed. They pushed it out into the internet, all within the space of 45 minutes, so that by the time the Americans got back to their base, it was game over. You need to be fast, and you need to have a really good story, and that's the secret.
Waltzman worked for a long time in the U.S. Department of Defense. In 2017, he warned Congress that propaganda could become more dangerous than military force.
As a DARPA program manager, I was going all over the government trying to tell people, you know, you need to start taking this stuff seriously. There's going to be a big issue. It's going to be a big deal. You need to start paying attention. And, yep, I got no response at all, basically. It was pretty sad.
Washington, January 2021. Soldiers guarded Congress a few days after the storming of the Capitol. For Nina Jankowicz, it was a disaster waiting to happen.
It's been a difficult week to be a disinformation researcher, to see your worst fears coming true, and to see that your government in many ways either embraced or ignored the warning signals that were just blatantly obvious on the internet for so long. And I guess that's the most heartbreaking part, the complete lack of preparation.
Jankowicz and her colleagues have shown how the attackers organized themselves, primarily with the help of private Facebook groups.
Facebook groups are kind of like the creepy basement of the internet. They are a place where people can gather out of the scrutiny of the Facebook content moderators. This is where a lot of disinformation can spread. It's where extremism spreads. It's where these groups coordinate with one another. And I think it's been our biggest blind spot.
War based on lies.
When Russia invaded Ukraine and annexed Crimea, I became increasingly interested in the disinformation campaign that ensued. I think it's absolutely accurate to say that Ukraine was the testing ground. It was all about muddying the information space, making it impossible to distinguish what the reality was about what was happening in Ukraine. The Ukrainians were painted as the aggressors. Blaming the victim is a very common tactic. There was a lot of whataboutism, so claiming that the annexation of Crimea was in fact no different than the U.S. invasion of Iraq, for example.
Putin pushed ahead with his goals, annexing Crimea. He was helped by finely tuned propaganda, no longer about simply portraying one system as superior to another.
Russian disinformation today has a slightly different approach. It's about leveling the playing field by saying your society is just as corrupt as ours, and you don't deserve to have the moral high ground.
On the US-based platform YouTube, Russian channels like to spread that message alongside images of protest from the West.
I think there used to be a misguided belief that in an open information market, truth will ultimately succeed. And that is simply no longer true, because that is not what generates the most activity. This totally unregulated and really unprecedentedly experimental, incredibly toxic, brand new information ecosystem that is global that we have built arose in a matter of a handful of years. And we are suddenly trapped in it.
This isn't just about stupid people believing things that are not true. This is about, self-interested people utilizing this as a way to keep themselves rich.
There's no regulation on your ad exchange market. If there were
You can hardly turn on the news today without hearing somebody say the words misinformation and disinformation. Okay, then what? They just talk. And at the end of the day, all the citizens, at least certainly in Europe and the United States, are on their own because nobody is coming to help them. You have to be proactive. That means you have to get out there and you have to be messaging yourself. There's no mechanism to decide who's going to decide what the message is. But we can't even do that.